We could definitely talk about it more, but I kind of want to go back a little bit
Yeah.
and like where did you start your first like kind of like entrepreneurial spirit type of deal? What was it kind of like your first thing that you did like in the past?
Hmm. Uh, I think. Oh, so I when I first started, even before Squarespace,
Yeah,
the whole this whole sort of attitude of entrepreneurship really started with website building. I was building a lot of websites for a lot of people, specifically in my building, in my apartment building, and the demographic of my building is pretty much folks who aren't really familiar with technology
right.
or familiar with how websites are built. Like they're just like working class folks who are just trying to get their side business out there.
Yeah,
Um, so I really tried to promote myself as someone who could showcase, someone who's really working hard out there on whatever it is they were doing. For example, I built some websites for like a moving company. There's a guy that worked at my building who it's called Pat's Moving and Storage.
yeah,
Like a amazing guy, and it's not really his role to know how to make a website or to know like how to
right.
sort of you know all the technological idiosyncrasies of making websites. He doesn't really have
Right.
time for that, so he
Right.
hired me to do that stuff. And I really tried to promote myself as like a website builder. I could get your business out there, and that was really fun. There were times of stress, especially specifically when you work with folks who aren't super familiar with stuff.
Right.
They'll ask a lot of questions, like which are in our eyes simple
Right.
questions, but for them, they're amazed when they see a photo of them on a website. Like
Yeah.
like these days, that's such a small thing to a lot of people, but for a lot of folks out there who aren't so familiar with website building, like it really is a huge win for them when they're able to see their picture online, and it makes them feel good. And so that's sort of like why I like doing that stuff.
Oh, that's great. When was that? It was like 10 years ago? That's when you first started,
Uh,
or?
I would say about
Hmm.
5 or 6 years ago. Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
I was doing it a lot as soon as I graduated from college.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Ironically, I wasn't using Squarespace. I was actually using like WordPress or building it from scratch.
Yeah.
And so I found out about Squarespace much later, and eventually got hired there as a customer service rep. And then
Right.
so everything sort of wrote itself out after that.
Oh, that's crazy. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
like, yeah, just like, yeah, some people are not very familiar with it. So like anytime, like you said, a picture pops up, that's them. They're all
Yeah.
like super excited. I'm always excited to
Yeah.
see
Like
that.
it's kind of surreal. Like I even recently I'm still sort of doing that, where I'm still sort of making websites for folks
Yeah.
in my building. Just recently I showed them a web page that I made, uh and it was like a picture of them on the page, and their whole face lit up. Like it was just like we take those things for granted, like of how meaningful like these sort of little things
Yeah.
that are. Like his whole face lit up, and he thought that was like such an amazing thing. There's a level of like, I don't know, victory and like hope for that person when when they're able to see something come to a reality,
Right. Right.
even if it's as small as having a picture and like a small body of text on a web page about them. It shows them that their business is, it's a real thing.
Right,
So
right, exactly, and then it gives them kind of like a voice on the internet as well. Like,
exactly,
hey,
yeah,
I'm here on the internet. You can actually find me, type of deal.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Oh, cool, cool. And then, so you said you were building websites. Was there anything else that you did as well before the photography?
That was mainly it.
Mhm.
Um, it was really just the website building.
Yeah.
Um, I did like try to sort of showcase like I tried to get like last summer I tried to get back into dancing
Yeah.
and making my own choreography. I think I was you were around when I was sort of like discussing this stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
I basically wanted to get back into choreography and rent out a studio, make a website uh, with just videos of me dancing, and then eventually make some sort of like a video project with a bunch of my friends, and we're all doing like a piece that I would choreograph. That's
Right.
still something that I very much want to do.
Yeah.
I ended up, you know, at Squarespace, I was moving up in my career there,
Right.
and like
Right.
work sort of got in the way, um, and then like with the photography stuff, like that's something that I really enjoyed. It's not that I didn't enjoy dancing,
Right. Right.
um, but with photography, there's a level of like conveniency with it. Like I could bring my camera anywhere and sort of do whatever I want and take pictures. Whereas like dancing, you need to like rent out a studio. You need to really think methodically about like choreography, and it's really fun, and it's something that I want to get back into, later down the road. But for now, that's one of those things where like I put on the shelf for a bit, and
Yeah.
I think that's okay too. I think some people just that's been my whole life of just like I've always been curious about a lot of things, and I always tried anything.
Well, that's good. That's
Yeah,
definitely good.
I always tried anything specifically artistic. I tried to do everything, and if it's something that I didn't really see myself doing for a long time, then I put it on the shelf, and if ever I want to go back to it, then I can go back to it. But I think that's okay too. I think, and I think it's okay to sort of move your focus elsewhere.
I feel like sometimes that's missing in people, and people,
Yeah,
are just like robots and just like I'm going to work and then just go home and then that's it.
yeah, yeah.
You know?
I always try to tell. I have a lot of peers and friends who are
Yeah.
like, as soon as they got their 9 to 5 job, that was it. Like they didn't.
Right.
It was like they didn't, you know, develop a hobby. They didn't pick up anything other than like they would just work. And then once it hit the weekend, they would just watch TV and drink or like go to the bars and just like that's fine. If like to me personally, like yeah, if you want to live life that way, that's fine. But for me, that doesn't really work out for me because I just love trying things, and I think it's so important to just have a hobby. I think everyone should just have a hobby.
Right.
I'll go as far as to say like life is sort of like useless if like you don't develop any sort of like thing that you just want to do for fun.
Right.
Um, and like that's always been sort of like my attitude for pretty much all my life, and I think it allowed me to sort of be curious about a bunch of stuff. Like I would, whether it came as dancing or singing or making websites or DJing. Like sometimes I forget I did that stuff. But yeah, it's always a fun experience.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And, just something to spark your creativity side. It's just like one day I remember looking at your Instagram and you take amazing pictures,
Thank you.
On Instagram. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then all of a sudden you just like, like what started all of that?
I have a vivid memory of like when I was a kid, because my older brother, who just ran the marathon yesterday. So shout outs to my
Nice.
brother.
That's awesome. Yeah.
My older brother, he is also a photographer. And I remember he was in college when I was around like 11 years old. And I remember him, carrying the camera, and then he let me try it. And I liked the idea of just like capturing stuff. I was just
Right.
taking like very simple photos. Like I think I was at the mall. You know how every mall has like a fountain and that you throw coins in. Like I was trying to take cool pictures of like the water,
Yeah.
flowing, and like I that was really cool to me. I loved how it looked, and I didn't think anything of it. So I remember, as far as I can remember, I've always had a interest or a curiosity in with photography.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't really get into it until there was like I think it was the summer of 2016. I got really into hiking. Like I loved hiking.
Yeah.
And like I grew up in the city, so like that's just a thing that I never did ever in my life. In fact, like I remember camping when I was like, I don't know, 13, and I just hated it because of there was like whether it was bugs or just there was just not. I was so distant from everything that the city offered. But yeah, the summer of 2016, I like got so into hiking, and I tried to do it every weekend. And I basically, my thing was I just wanted to take really cool pictures of the trails that I was hiking, and basically just show off to my friends to be like, like, look where I am.
Right.
But
which we were all jealous, by the way.
Yeah. That was my goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just wanted to make everyone like feel bad.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But no, I loved there was something about, because I did it during the summer and into the fall, and obviously when you see trees, like the foliage and like the leaves changing, everything, it's like it's cliche, but like it's really cool to look at. Like it's a very aesthetically pleasing thing to look at when it comes to like the leaves changing and like all the leaves on the floor and just like silence, and you're just completely away from the city, and there's a level of isolation that really appealed to me.
Right.
And I've always been someone who tried to put like memories in a metaphorical like pocket, and one way to do that was through pictures. And so I would, I didn't really have a professional DSLR, so I just used my phone to take, it wasn't just like a selfie, or it wasn't just like a really quick photo. Like I used the phone to actually take like, I tried to take really good pictures with a phone. So
Right.
I started off trying to be like a photographer with just my iPhone. And I remember just posting one picture up on Instagram of a trail. It's called Mount Tammany.
Yeah.
It's in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Nice.
I did it the fall of 2016, and I took this really cool photo from like the top of the mountain, and I got a huge reception to it once I posted it. Like everyone liked it, and from there there was a sense of like, man, people really like this stuff and like looking at people travel, and there's a sense of like, yeah, whenever you see someone cool, like whenever you see someone traveling online, like there's a level of like, man, I want to do that, but
Right.
they end up never doing that. But for me, like I try my best to do whatever I find cool. And that goes back to the whole me trying to do anything. Like, so
That's
yeah,
why
that's
you're on
how,
this podcast too.
yeah. So that's how it really started. It really started with the hiking stuff. And then I eventually got my first DSLR that same year, and started taking, more photos. And then I ended up taking more portrait photography. I was just like asking people around work if they just wanted a headshot. And I was really learning how to edit on Lightroom during that time too. All this, I was just research and just ask other photographers, how do I do this? Like, I would read some stuff online about how to take really good portrait photos, and everything sort of took off from there. And I from then on, I try to bring my camera everywhere I go for the most part.
That's very cool.
Yeah, like I said, it's a very convenient but very expensive hobby.
Right, right.
Yeah.
When did it start being like a little bit more professional when you started creating the website? Like when did that all happen?
I'd say I'm really getting into the beginnings of the profession,
Hmm.
the professional sort of aspect of it. Um, I'd say it really, yeah. I feel like I'm still in that beginning stage of it.
Hmm.
Um, but things sort of started to feel much more real. I don't know if maybe professional slash real are synonymous here, but things felt more real when, um, I was getting like referrals, like, oh, you're a friend of this person that you took like, oh, I'm a friend of, hey Lawrence, I'm a friend of this person that you took a photo, and I've been wanting to get a new headshot for my resume or my online portfolio. Would you be able to do that? Like I would start getting, friends of friends, like emailing me, and they, genuine appreciation of like my photos that I put up, specifically of their friends. Um, that's when it started to feel more real. When I got more, when I wasn't asking people to if I could take a photo of them. When people started asking me if they could use me as like a service. So that
Yeah,
was, yeah,
that's like the best. Getting the word of mouth, and
yeah,
yeah, that's like for you. That's like for anyone. That's like a sense of accomplishment. Like where people are coming to you to ask you like, hey, we want you want to do stuff, and that's really cool.
yeah, yeah, and like I said, it's still in the very beginning
Hmm.
stages of that feeling of professionalism, because I'm sort of always hungry.
Right.
Like I always try to treat myself as like the person who doesn't know much, and like I'm always sort of striving for more. So even if I do get a lot of praise for a photo, I feel like I'll always nitpick, and I'll always be like, oh man, I could have done this better. The lighting could have been better here, or I'm always sort of criticizing myself, which could be a good and a bad thing. I try to see more good in it because it sort of inspires me to like motivates me to sort of strive for more,
Right.
and be better and talk to more people who are better than me. Like I think people need to know that a lot of I think if you have an open mind, and if you're aware of the fact that people are better than you at the same thing that you want to do, then I think that's a good attitude to have, because it sort of motivates you to just not necessarily be like them, but just like makes you try to be a better photographer, a better dancer, or whatever it is that you're doing. Just having that sort of awareness that that there are other folks that can do it better than you, and you could also learn from them.
Right. That's I totally agree with that. A little bit more on the technical side. What type of camera do you have, or
Oh,
what are you
so
starting
right now
with?
I'm shooting with a. So I have the same body.
Hmm.
Actually, no. Sorry, scratch that. I ended up getting a T4, a Canon Rebel T4 as my first DSLR in 2016.
Okay, nice.
Um, Ended up selling that, and then I ended up getting a used Canon Rebel T5i, which is the one I currently use. Because it's
Nice.
really more a lot of the investment goes into the lenses
Hmm.
as opposed to the body. So
Got it.
I've spent a good amount of money on just lenses, as opposed to the body. Um, yeah, and again, it's a really expensive hobby, but I think
Right.
there's a huge payoff when you're able to take a photo and like folks appreciate it, and yeah.
Definitely. No, I totally agree with that. So when you're doing your research for all those people that are trying to get into photography, what are you really looking for in a camera? Say you had like a budget of like, I don't know, let's say $500 for your first camera. What would you say is the most important thing?
I would try to. So for me, I love reviews. I think
Mm.
like online reviews like video reviews, I think are very helpful. So I watch those a lot, and I monitor like comments about whatever I want to go purchase. Um, and I think we're moving more towards, and when I say we, I think photographers, they're moving more towards like being more lightweight and having
Mm.
things be more, what do you call it? Uh, Less taxing on in terms of weight. So there's a lot of lightweight cameras out there. I think the one that I'm sort of eyeing now is the Fujifilm,
Hmm.
because it's very lightweight, but you could sort of capture uh, the same photos with like a heavier camera that I have now. Um, that's a little longer down the line. I think I'm very I'm very content with my Canon right now. Um, but yeah, I'm always sort of looking to see if a newer, like moving on to another camera would be a better suit for me.
Got it. Got it. Oh, nice, nice. That's good.
Yeah.
And because I know there's always inspiring photographers, trying to get into it, and just take better pictures, and whatever they really want to take. So,
Yeah,
so good
I mean,
information.
some folks can have like the latest and greatest things, but
Hmm.
they could take photos that that aren't that great.
Right.
Like I won't lie, like editing is a huge part of photography, and I think editing is a huge skill, and I think how folks edit their photos is like you could take a photo on sort of a lower level, like older camera, and still edit it to a point where it might look better than a photo that was taken on the latest, whatever camera out there. Um, so yeah, I think it's the way that you approach it. I think a lot of it has to do with, um, yeah, how you see things and how you want to frame a moment. I think that's the very fundamental thing that you need to have, regardless of whatever type of camera that you have.
All right. Nice. That's good to know. So in terms of photography, what do you like taking pictures of, and what is your specialty?
So it's for the most part people.
Okay.
Um, like portrait photography is sort of um, my expertise. I love also taking like street photography. Landscapes, whether it's like on a hike or just like walking around the city, or people walking, or like cabs driving by, like or taking pictures of like buildings. I love taking pictures of buildings. Actually, that's actually a recent sort of interest of mine. It's crazy because like we spend a lot of time like looking straight or looking down. Like we never really look up.
Right.
Um, and like I think one day I just looked up I felt like I hadn't looked up for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see like the architecture of New York, and it's really cool to look at. And so yeah, I like taking pictures of that stuff. I would say portrait photography is definitely my expertise, and sort of the thing that people seek me for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, my attitude when it comes to taking pictures of people is that I specifically like working with folks who aren't necessarily models. Like these are just regular folks.
Right.
Like I don't try to fix them. I don't try to like tell them to pose in a certain way. I don't, tell them to like put more makeup on or wear this or wear that. Like I sometimes like I get the best photos when it's a very impromptu. Hey, do you want a picture of yourself today? And he or she might feel good about him or herself, and will be like, yeah, I would love to take a photo. Um, and it's just them in like their regular day to day, wardrobe, and like there's a sense of like humanness and reality when you can take a photo like that.
Right. I like that. I like seeing photos like that. So that's really cool that you're doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, so if you want to get a photography and you're in the New York area, and once you get more famous, you're gonna be flying everywhere to take pictures. But right now it's just the New York area. So if anyone wants to, get pictures, portraits, definitely go to Laurence, because I trust him. I trust him to, take care of you, type of deal. So
Yeah. The latest, whatever camera out there. So yeah, I think it's the way that you approach it. I think a lot of it has to do with, how you see things and how you want to frame a moment. I think that's the very fundamental thing that you need to have, regardless of whatever type of camera that you have.
all right, nice. That's good to know. So in terms of photography, what do you like taking pictures of, and what is your specialty?
So it's, for the most part, people.
Okay.
Like portrait photography is sort of my expertise. I love also taking like street photography, landscapes, whether it's like on a hike or just like walking around the city, or people walking, or like cabs driving by, like or taking pictures of like buildings. I love taking pictures of buildings. Actually, that's actually a recent sort of interest of mine. It's crazy because like we spend a lot of time like looking straight or looking down. Like we never really look up.
Right.
And like I think one day I just looked up I felt like I hadn't looked up for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see like the architecture of New York, and it's really cool to look at. And so yeah, I like taking pictures of that stuff. I would say portrait photography is definitely my expertise, and sort of the thing that people seek me for.
Yeah.
My attitude when it comes to taking pictures of people is that I specifically like working with folks who aren't necessarily models. Like these are just regular folks.
Right.
Like I don't try to fix them. I don't try to like tell them to pose in a certain way. I don't, tell them to like put more makeup on or wear this or wear that. Like I sometimes like I get the best photos when it's a very impromptu. Hey, do you want a picture of yourself today? And he or she might feel good about him or herself, and will be like, yeah, I would love to take a photo. And it's just them in like their regular day-to-day, wardrobe, and like there's a sense of like humanness and reality when you can take a photo like that.
Right. I like that. I like seeing photos like that. So that's really cool that you're doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, so if you want to get a photography and you're in the New York area, and once you get more famous, you're gonna be flying everywhere to take pictures. But right now it's just the New York area. So if anyone wants to, get pictures, portraits, definitely go to Laurence, because I trust him. I trust him to, take care of you, type of deal. So
Yeah.